Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Amazing Seller Podcast. This is episode number 383, and today we are doing the podcast on a couch and on an ottoman in a hotel room with my good friends and part of the TAS team, Joel, Angel, and Chris Schaefer. What is happening, guys?
What's going on, dude?
Going well. How you doing, man?
It's kind of weird here, right? We're doing a podcast in a hotel room.
I get to see you and talk to you at the same time, which is not normally a thing that we do. Because when we do these on Skype, I don't get to look at your pretty face.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I feel confused. I almost have to put a box around it so I can pretend that I'm on the Skype.
All right. The reason why I wanted to do this, I wanted to really kind of recap and kind of also get some takeaways. Because I think, as people come out of an event of any kind, it's always nice to see what they got out of it, but then also what we got out of it as far as like takeaways, because we're always trying to figure out where are people stuck, where are people, maybe needing additional help. And I think after I do these anyway, and you ask yourself that question, it also helps us move forward and bring content that can actually help everyone moving forward. So I think I just want to kind of go around the table here and kind of get your thoughts. So, Chris, maybe you can start it off because you've got just such a nice, crisp, loud voice, and it might take that energy and really kind of push it along the
now
channel. Now
we're setting
here.
expectations.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
You did that very well. That was brilliant. You're out.
Don't be quiet, or this is no good. So I think before we do that, we should probably recap what the event is about for the people.
That would probably be a good idea. Yeah, let's do that.
So if you weren't one of the 15 people that got to hang out with us this weekend, what we did was we took kind of what you guys may or may not have seen us do in the list building workshop, and you can find that if you haven't been through that, go through that at theamazingseller.com/build list. And you guys can find all of the similar material to what we taught this weekend. But what we did was we kind of took all of the stuff that we covered there, we chunked it down into some sections, and then we actually worked with the people who were here this weekend to implement that giveaway, that traffic driving, or that launch strategy. So we took everything that we teach in that workshop and we broke it down really into those three sections.
Right.
So how do you create a compelling offer for your audience so that you can start to drive traffic to that email list and build that email list? And then once you have all of those emails, what do you actually do with them afterwards? And so that was kind of the goal of this weekend. And in seeing that, there were a couple different places that we got to see that some people were stuck. And it turns out that most of those people ended up being stuck either in the traffic driving or with what do we do after it. And those are really the two things that make or break that entire effort to begin with. So that was kind of a little bit of an interesting experience for us.
Yeah, it really was. And, again, as you kind of get to sit in a room with people, you get to actually see what their sticking points are.
Right.
And also sometimes their sticking point is really not even the thing that they have to do. It's actually deciding what to do first. And
where to go.
Yeah, and where to go first. And it was funny because we had our implementation session where we're looking over their shoulder. Everybody's working, which was great, by the way. I remember actually I was riding over here in the car with Jimmy the Shark, and and we were kind of going over the event and stuff. And the last event in Phoenix, everyone was saying like it was an awesome event, but they wish they could have did some implementation. We didn't have enough time in that day. So we built some time in the day here for implementation. And implementation, I actually thought was going to be a little different, honestly. It was going to be a lot more like, okay, click here, build this thing, slide this here. But it was more about just letting them work on what they needed to work on and having us go over and see where they're stuck and then moving them through. So Angel, I want you to talk about that because actually you were kind of going through in kind of asking at least myself, like what was our takeaway from my session when we did a breakout session and stuff. And maybe even, I think I got to actually I have to actually give Angel like a real introduction here. But Angel is a huge part of the TAS team as far as like behind the scenes, doing a lot of the mechanics, a lot of the building of our systems to allow our content to get really pushed out at the right time. And just really an important part. So, Angel, thank you, number one. And number two, maybe you can tell a little bit about what you do, just so you can do a better job than I just did. And I know we only have 30 minutes.
That's good stuff. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So
yeah, it sounded great. I build the architecture behind the autoresponder.
Yes.
And so I work a lot in ClickFunnels.
Yes.
I spend almost all my time in Actionetics and both the funnel building section and making sure that the entire process serves both the people in TAS and the people who are consuming the material.
Right. Yeah. So you're really the one behind the scenes that's making it all kind of come together. And I also just want people to understand, like, this is what we're doing for TAS, but it's also stuff we're doing with our brand that we're working on externally. So all of these things that we're doing are actually things that we do in our Amazon businesses and things as well. But okay, I know you and Joel are really good about kind of like breaking things down and kind of distilling it. So what would you say, like, from the event that you've seen that either people were coming away with or that people were, maybe even getting stuck on?
The biggest sticking point I saw, quite honestly, was making it too complicated and getting overwhelmed. So a lot of people were afraid to take the first step to even do. You give them the processes.
Right.
What they were missing is they were getting overwhelmed by all the processes that they have to do. And really the best option is not to think, oh my God, I got to get Facebook going, I got to get this going, I got to get that going, and I got to get I got to have a website, I got to have everything.
Right.
I would ask yourself, what's next? You give them a process.
Right.
You know what the big process is. You give them 4 or 5 steps, sometimes
Yep.
only 3, sometimes it's even 1.
Yep.
What's next? Do that next step,
Right.
and then ask yourself, what's next again? And it becomes very, very easy.
It's really interesting, though, because I know Chris always says that, asking the question is really a huge tool for yourself because you have to answer that question.
That's right.
Right? And that's kind of what you're saying. Like, do the one thing and then ask yourself, what's next?
Yep.
Right? And I found it interesting because I was walking around the room doing the implementation, and I had just gotten out of a breakout session with a group, and the guy that I was working with, we kind of went through what he needed to do next, and then when he was at the implementation, he wasn't really doing what we said to do next. Right?
Yeah.
And really, it's no fault of his. It's just he wanted to do something he felt he could get done, and I said to him, I go, even though you don't think you can get it all done now, you can do a part of it now. Because that's really the next thing that you need to do. It's not necessarily that you have to complete it. It just means you have to start that process because eventually that part has to get done. And that part was, I'll just say that for an example, like we went through like how to find influencers on YouTube. So spend an hour going through YouTube and finding people that your market or that could be serving your market. And then you're going to create that list, and then eventually on the next part of that, you're going to then contact those people.
Right.
So
and reward yourself, have them give congratulations to yourself for taking those steps.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
you did it.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yes,
yeah, you did it for the first time.
Right.
How awesome is that?
Yeah, I know.
It's one of those things, and Scott, you and I have talked about this a lot in the past, and people who have been longtime TAS listeners have probably been beat over the head. But there's a lot of things that you can do, right? And one of the things that we stress, and we had somebody ask us this weekend, like, where do I start listening to the podcast, right? What things do I do first? And the answer is you start at the beginning, right? And it reminds me of the concept that you and I have talked about a lot, which is just-in-time learning, right? We threw a lot of information at people, and the reason we did the breakout sessions and the implementation was to say, where are you right now? Kind of group yourself based on that, and then let us teach you what you need to know right now to get that first step done wherever you are. And as entrepreneurs, and we're guilty of this, I think all 4 of us in this room are guilty of this as well. We go, look at all the cool stuff that we can do, right? Like, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And then we go, yeah, but I don't want to do that one because that one's hard.
Yeah. Or it's not as fun.
And that kind of pulls back. And we had the conversation again this weekend with some people. And Joel, I think you were having the conversation where we said, like, where there's resistance is where there's going to be the most growth, right? And I think the conversation you had with somebody was, what are you afraid of? The next step that you need to take, he had like 5 or 10 products that he was
25 SKUs.
right on a list.
Yeah.
And he hadn't reached out to any suppliers yet.
Right.
And Joel said, why not? And he said, well, what if they don't answer me? It was kind of the response. I think, correct me if I'm telling that story wrong, but it's like, what do you have to lose by taking that action? But it becomes more real when you take that action. And that's kind of that first fear point for a lot of people. The next fear point, and I know you have it, I still have it, is once you've talked to that supplier, you've gotten your samples, and you go to place that order.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of resistance there because your body is saying, this could kill you. And from a biological standpoint, that makes sense. From a real life standpoint, it doesn't. And you have to acknowledge that and be able to move past that. But the things that we don't want to do tend to be the things that lead to that biggest growth point or that aha moment or the next step in our business.
I think you nailed it. It's not always that next step that's really the fear. It's that they group it. Like they're saying, they're looking so far down the line, they're thinking I have to pull the trigger on the investment in on the product.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. And it's like, I'm like, no, you got a lot of steps. You're gonna enter into a new area where you've never done this. You're gonna send an email to a sourcing agent and you're gonna get information back about a product. That's completely risk free. You can get that skill for free. You can send that, and then then I'm like, and just to give you, like, I walked that guy through, and like, these are the next 2 steps that are coming. Really, everybody should get to at least the real trigger point, the actual decision point, and that is, first reach out, get used to communicating with that person, and then ask for some samples. How easy is that? You're going to get a product, you're going to check it out, you're going to show it to your friends and family. That's it. I mean, if everybody just did that instead of waiting, oh my God, I don't know if I can pull the trigger when it comes time to buying the product, or how many units am I supposed to get? If you just get that far, everybody can do that. You honestly can do that in a couple days or a couple weeks even to get the product in and be checking it out. So if you're stuck there, go do it. Go make it happen. As Scott always says, take action.
That's right. That's right. Okay, cool. So, and actually, you know what, Joel, why don't you, I know you were on the podcast, but why don't you just talk a little bit about what you are doing behind the scenes with TAS?
Okay. I do a lot of connecting what we're building behind the scenes, the architecture that Angel is doing to actually into the audience and what's really assisting the business to grow to the next level. A lot of the things I spend time on is really thinking about how do we help more people? How do we get more people through this? How do we really help them move? Because one of the coolest things that TAS has already done is that consistently people are getting real results. People who never entered into the space, never knew that they could even do this, are freeing they're free from their jobs. They're a whole new life. I talked to a number of people that said, man, a year ago, I never thought I'd be making money like this. I had no idea that I was capable of this. I would have been, if you had told me that, I would have told you were a liar. And now they're doing it, and we see that all the time, and we want more of that. We want to see more people do that, and that's a lot of my focus.
Yeah, no, and I know, and we talked privately with our own, little discussions about what is the mission? Like, what is the mission for us? There's a lot of people in this community, a lot of, so-called gurus and stuff that are, money grabbing, really.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it bluntly,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're basically, money grabbing, and I don't want to be associated with that. Are we leaving money on the table? Absolutely. Yeah. And that's okay. Because like you said, and we've all said, it's about the long term for us. I'm personally here for the long term. I love receiving those. You guys came to my house and you seen my thank you wall in person. That's what lights me up. When I'm having a bad day, I'm going to go there. I just think it's important too. I mean, you guys are part of the TAS team, and it's like, when I get those thoughts, you guys are there to kind of remind me of the reason why. Right? The reason why we're doing what we're doing. I mean, this whole thing started because of a podcast that I wanted to start, did it, had no idea where it was going to lead. Yeah. And now look where we're going. And now we just want to do more of that in a better way. So again, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there to let people know. But what you guys can also take away from this little discussion about what we're saying is like, what is it for you? And what is it for your business? Maybe right now you're in an open brand and you go, well, that doesn't really I'm not really like helping people. But you kind of are, because that widget that you're selling is probably something that, even if it's like a hinge for a door, right? Someone needed that hinge.
That's a great analogy, actually, because that hinge is needed, right?
Right.
They don't necessarily need another Shopkins thing, right? Or another stuffed animal, but they might, right? you don't know, and that's kind of the thing behind your brand. But it doesn't have to be a mission like you're going to help people.
Exactly.
So let's go back to, I don't know, what's a good example?
I got
Just
a
a random-
live example for this is I bought fingernail clippers off of Amazon, and
I need right now.
it's a brand or a product you like. Yeah, I need it, but it's like not gonna like be that exciting. And I get there, and there's a little like thank you note in the packaging, and it says, we love it that you've tried our thing, and you change your life. If you need any more, they had a coupon on it, and they had a little poem about like fingernail clippers. When I buy fingernail clippers in the future, who am I going to? Right. Every time I'm gonna go there, because every other experience I've had with fingernail clippers was crap.
Yeah.
And so they took a little extra time to take something that usually has no personality. Usually you buy once and you never need to for years.
Right.
But I mean, I'm like, oh, okay, well, they got the discount coupon. Maybe I can get it for a family member. And they really did such a great job of connecting that people element to it that even a product that normally wouldn't have it now has it. And I will remember that brand.
Well, okay, I got another real live example here. And this isn't really, this again works in anything. But, okay, Uber drivers.
Yeah.
All right. So normally you have an Uber driver, you punch him in your phone or her, and you get an Uber ride, and you say, okay, they show up, the app takes care of it all. Thank you. You might tip them.
You have the 3-question conversation of how long have you been driving for Uber? Are you from here originally? And what are you doing after this?
Exactly. Right. So how would someone make that better or, more enjoyable or exciting? Well, we actually found out firsthand. It was amazing. You guys didn't get to experience it, but we hopped in an Uber driver or an Uber ride from I would say actually from the workshop, or no, not the workshop, from the meetup,
coffee shop meetup.
From the coffee shop meetup on Friday night, and our good friend Bill ordered it for us. It was an Uber X, so it was the bigger one, so we could have more people.
The XL, yeah.
And the first thing that happened, the first thing I seen is it pulls up. It's got these blue lights running on the inside. And I'm like, this is going to be an interesting ride immediately, right? And I knew it was going to be kind of cool, right? So we get in the car, right in the back, we see a pillow hanging on the back that says love with a little heart-shaped love. And then I still thought this is going to be interesting. We all sit down, the guy turns around, and he said, I forget what he said to Jimmy that was in the front seat.
Do you have $20?
Yeah, do you have $20?
Yeah.
And then what was the first song?
It's Thrift Shop.
The Thrift Shop song, right?
$20 in my pocket.
Yeah, $20 in my pocket. And the music starts pumping, the strobe light starts happening, the lights are flashing. And actually, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this, but I may. You're going to probably want to go to the show notes of this episode because I may embed that part of that video in the show notes. What was the episode again? 383? Yeah. TheAmazingSeller.com/383. If you want to catch a snippet of that Uber ride, you might want to go check out the show notes.
All the songs were censored, so you got to be careful of that.
I might bleep them out, but yeah, there was a couple of curse words there. But we'll make this a family show. But it was an awesome experience, and when we got out, we thanked him, we gave him a tip, and then he gave us his business card. He owns a limousine company.
Yeah, you're gonna remember that always.
I'm already gonna hire him for my son and me to go out on the town some night. It's gonna be fun, right? It was amazing. But again, you got to understand, like, no matter what you're doing, you can create an experience. And you also, it doesn't have to be a mission statement or anything, but it just has to be, how did you did change our life for a second, right? That we're never gonna forget that. That memory is stuck in our mind, and it was a good memory.
And to kind of tie that back in, what we were talking about was like the mission of TAS, and that creates the experience for what we're recording in terms of content, what we're doing inside Private Label Classroom, what we do for workshops, what we do for Breakthrough Live, and that experience was the reason that we added in the implementation section and those kinds of things. Yeah. But it works in your own brands too, and that's kind of where the Uber example comes in, or the fingernail clipper example comes in. You guys can do those things. It doesn't have to be derived from a mission statement, but it all does come back to creating a unique and valuable experience.
Yeah.
And that's really what you want long term.
Well, adding the people element to it.
Right.
Really knowing there's another person on the other side of that. And if you can do something to change how they get to interact or make it an improvement on it, it can come from cultural stuff. It's saying, hey, this is the culture of this business and this is what we're trying to achieve. It doesn't have to. It just says, I care. Because how rare is that nowadays? It's sad, but it is rare that the businesses we interact with come and say, I care about you. Mm. That's really how simple it is. And even if the product doesn't warrant the most excitement for you as the person selling it, but on the other side, then add something to it. Add that note. Most of the training for Amazon right now is telling you add a card and try to offer them a coupon and get that repeat sale. But what if we did it by adding so much personality and care to, hey, this is your experience. Let us know anything we can do. This is what we've seen other people use it for. All kinds of cool stuff we can do to go, I actually care about you.
There's two good examples of that, and the two people were both here this weekend. Our friend Bill, his follow-up sequence through his emails, he spent
humor
so much time going through and testing and tweaking and just adding personality and humor into his product, which is not a funny product. Like, it's not like a gag, it's not something that would generally have that associated with it, so you're creating that experience. And the other person who I want to give a shout out to is Danielle Fritz, who I know in some of her follow-up emails does, oh, hey, I saw you're from Ohio. She does a lot more manually than a lot of other people. I saw you're from Ohio. Sorry the Buckeyes lost this weekend. That kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. That was just for your edification. But those kinds of little connection points are what make all the difference. And we got to talk a lot about that this weekend. And that's where, like, after you guys have that email list, you can do a lot of those kinds of things and create that one-on-one experience with the people who are potentially going to be your customers when you launch that product, or are going to be your long-term customers once you've built that email list, which is what this weekend initially was all about.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of just talk a little bit about maybe, I think the two areas that I seen that people needed some help was not so much the offer. The offer seemed like people really had the offer down.
Well, I think they were confused by the audience. So how can you make a strong offer? And so there was hard for them to even realize they needed one yet.
Okay.
And what that felt like.
Right. Because when we asked, we were going to do 3 different sessions, and we did do 3, but we broke them up differently from the response from the live attendees. But it was primarily like. And I believe, what was yours again? Yours was the you weren't you were follow up, but you were more about.
No, I did audience, and then I brought in and just said offer, because I figured if they figured out audience, then they can say what would entice them.
your session was more about the audience.
We almost entirely covered audience.
Okay, and I know people they didn't want to break away really when we were ready to break.
Yeah,
because they were just so into what you were talking about. Can you give us like a little snapshot of what went through? I know it's going to be hard for you, Joe. I know it's going to be hard for you.
This is a topic that we could talk about for we could do an entire workshop just on that.
Well, and we cover. We probably should do another episode though. Once we get back, we all get settled. We should probably come back on and do one on your breakout session. Okay. Because I think that would be very helpful for people. But just give us even just a few tips, maybe.
The first one, and it's something I have seen in all of my consulting, no matter what business we touch, no matter how big the company is, no matter how long it's been around, or it's just starting, or it's just a person working in their business, and it's who is my audience? Oh, it's everyone. Oh, everyone could buy this. Oh, everyone could want this. And it just doesn't happen. There's very few products. And if they are for everyone, it's not very easy to get anything exciting happening around the product. So even if the thing could be purchased by everyone, what group really needs this? What group really wants this? What group is excited when you talk to them about it? I don't want to mention anyone's product. I was going to give an example, but
the word for word example that came up was shampoo. Somebody said, "Oh, well, everybody buys shampoo."
Oh yeah, that's true. Right. Shampoos, it's a great one, because look how many shampoos are out there, and if the shampoo says is for people with this hair color they were mentioning, then that's more enticing to someone with that hair color. But you can also create a better experience. Why is it for that hair color? What does it do? What is the different vitamins that are in it? You can make a completely different product that is, instead of something that they might buy, but they could easily switch out with anything else, is suddenly like, no, this is the only one for me. This is the only one for my hair color. This is made for me. What are you talking about? Why would I get any other shampoo? And we go, oh, but like, how much of the market am I giving up? What if they don't have that hair color? But you don't understand that repeat sale, that consistent customer experience, that higher chance that they're even going to buy on the first time. Your numbers will look better. I've never seen it where by spreading out and trying to cover more people, they actually made more money. They had a bigger audience. It was more expensive to get out to, and then they were making less in sales. And it doesn't make any sense. So if you're starting out and you can just kind of get in your head, even if I could sell this to everyone, who really, really wants it? And who's that person to the point where I can explain it to them and really get them what they want? Because sometimes little feature changes will really matter, and we can do that in a lot of the products we do. Just a small change because of knowing who they want.
So almost what you're saying is, you're almost custom tailoring the messaging to the market.
Yeah. Well, it starts out just deciding that there's a market because.
But I'm saying once you learn that there's a shampoo for women that have blonde hair and has been colored, and your shampoo does that, then that is, you've just kind of niche down shampoo, right? You didn't do it. It's not men with gray hair. That's a whole nother shampoo. Silver Fox, right? I mean, come on, right? I mean,
Silver Fox shampoo.
Razors are another great example of this, and you see it in the store. Like, is it Schick? Is Schick the razor company?
Yeah.
Bic is the pen company, and Schick is the razor company. Schick has like this. It's the same exact razor. One is pink, and one is black. And the pink one has like a bigger white, like rubber. I don't know what it's called, but it's the thing.
The
it's
little
like
guide there,
like
or
a neck guard,
the neck guard,
a lubrication strip, or something like that, right? Guess what? The handle is the same. The razor blades are the same. Everything else is the same, but it's marketed towards women. If it's the pink one, it's marketed towards men. If it's the black one, right? It's the same basic product, but by doing that, you can actually create a different perception of value, and that's something you and I have talked about in the past, right? It's not necessarily that it's a better product or a different product. It's that this is the one for me. And we like to say, as consumers, this is the thing for me. This is my coffee. My coffee brand is X. I am a fan of Death Wish, right? I drink Death Wish. And we create, and it comes back like in cross sells and upsells. And you and I have talked a little bit about this on the podcast. When we make a purchase, we then reverse justify it, right? And we go, well, I bought it because, I didn't buy it because it was black and it said men's on it. I bought it because it's got this really fancy, it's got 5 blades, whatever. And you look at the pink one, it's the exact same thing. But it was pink, so I didn't buy it. Right. And so
by out of line, and I didn't buy the pink.
by creating that differentiating experience, you then let people self-select and say, this is my product. It creates a higher perceived value for them, and they are able to make that justification that much faster.
Yeah.
What's so interesting in that is like you take the list of features. What a razor does is the same, more or less, things. But for women, the order of importance of that list, maybe they want all of it. Maybe they don't want it to nick. But maybe it's more important that it's silky smooth skin at the end, that it's actually a lotion that's adding to it. The man's not going, oh, I hope it has a really nice aloe lotion. Like in most cases. They might say that in secret, but they want a quicker, easier shave. So there's going to be a different focus on what the features are. And if you can say that in the packaging or the listing because you spent some time thinking about it, you don't even have to change the actual product features. You just have to talk about it differently. And so that connects what you were talking about, Scott.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm going to go to Angel now. As Angel she was, kind of like paying attention to everything quietly. And then, because, Angel, you can see Angel here. She's just looking back and forth. You're talking, then Chris is talking, then I'm talking, right? But Angel does pay attention. So I want to hear a little bit about, like, you went to, I think you were kind of roaming a little bit as far as like going to different sessions.
Yes.
Okay. What was your feel? What was your takeaway from what people were talking about or what they were gaining? I'm just trying to kind of see it through your eyes, I guess, as far as what people were either stuck on or what they were saying, like, oh, that makes sense, or a light bulb. Maybe just something that could bring attention to it that we can kind of highlight, so if someone's listening, they can be like, oh, that makes sense. You know what I mean? From that takeaway. Does anything come to mind? You kind of put me on the spot, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Because as soon as I got out of my breakout sessions, you're like, so give me the takeaways. And I'm like, well, I got to think about this now. I mean, yeah.
Maybe Scott can remind you of his takeaways. That'll
Right. I would say there were a range of different businesses, and it really was the big thing that I noticed, is that there was some step that each of them were on. One of the bigger ones actually is I noticed that a lot of people were actually selling and very successful, but hadn't created their list and followed up with their list. And that really is very important, and it takes you back to the audience.
Right.
You get to cultivate these people, and they will buy more of your stuff.
Right.
And if you learn who they are as a person, they appreciate being treated as a person.
Right.
Weird.
You know?
Weird.
It is weird, I mean, just think how excited when you call a phone number to any company and a person answers.
It's strange,
It's not
right?
a computer, right?
Even better, they have personality.
Yeah, right.
That you like.
Right.
Right. And that was one big thing.
That was one big thing. Okay. Because I think, and it was funny because we were the night before the event on the Friday meetup. I was talking to a guy, and I won't mention his name right now, but he'll know if he's listening. But he's got a really successful business right now, like a 7-figure business, but he's starting a little private label thing on the side. And he's kind of starting from scratch in a sense. But we kind of talked. I'm like, well, why aren't you using the list of customers from your business? And I asked him, how many customers you have? And he's like, over 100,000. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should, So again, my thing is there's some people, some at this event, some that are listening, that might already have current businesses that they could tap into their customers to launch a product.
Probably improve both.
And
Yeah.
probably improve both.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a big light bulb. He's like, all right, I can go home now. I already got my nugget.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, I got to go.
More value than
Yeah.
paid. Let's go.
But you know what I mean? So it's like sometimes you can't see, is it the forest through the trees? That's the saying, right? Did I say that right? So it's so true because you're in it. And when you have someone else that comes in, like literally I seen that in 2 seconds. Right, because he was like, I have this company and this is what we're doing and it's running great. I've got some employees. They're running the business and they actually do all my listings and stuff. So they're able to do this for me. And I'm thinking, but why aren't we tapping into that?
Yeah.
Is it just because you want to get away from that market? Is it because you have a partner? You don't want to partner with this new business? Like, what is the reason? He's like, no, I just because I thought this was more interesting.
I didn't think about it.
I didn't think about it, kind of thing, And I'm like, okay. So anyone listening, like sometimes it's right in front of you, or maybe someone that has a brick and mortar that hasn't yet launched on Amazon and you can tap into that. I mean, kind of like our friends over at, Pajamagram or the teddy bear.
Vermont Teddy Bear?
Yeah, Vermont Teddy Bear. Yeah, which he's going to be on, Jason's going to be on. A huge company. They weren't taking advantage of the Amazon channel. Now they are, and they added a few million extra.
A boatload.
Yeah, a boatload of money to their business. I noticed that too. We had a few people here that were really, really brand new, and we had some people that were really, really established. But they all still needed something. And just because you're successful on one end doesn't mean that you're successful on the other end, or you're as far as you would think. You would think someone that has a 7-figure business has an email list.
Well, go back to what you said before. Ask the question. One of the things we get caught in is we just don't ask the right question. And if you said, like, if everybody out there, no matter where you're at, said, what skill, ability, or resource do I have right now that would move my business forward? Maybe you don't have an answer the first time. Keep asking. Something will click. And if you do things like that, you'll start shaking it up. And you don't always have to have someone from the outside. It still helps. That's why so many people that are really successful still have coaches. And so they keep bringing that in. But this can help you to start getting that movement and that traction. So you're asking better questions when you actually need it. Like the third party's coming in and seeing a whole new industry you don't know about and helping you to grow. So
that's a huge point. I want to highlight that one more time. But I think one action step that people can do right now is ask the question.
yeah, what skill, ability, or resource do I have right now that can move my business forward?
Say that again slow.
What skill, ability, or resource do I have right now that could move my business forward?
I love that. It's crazy because you ask yourself a question, you have to give yourself an answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to. It's like that you're just wired that way, right? So if you ask the right questions, you're going to have to create the right solutions, or at least you're going to have to attempt to. And what happens when you attempt to? You get a result. We don't know what that result is. It could be good, it could be bad, but it's a result.
Yeah.
And then we can measure that, and then we can say, oh, wait a minute, let's ask another question.
Yeah.
Right? Why didn't that work?
Yeah, if the questions start working, feel free to ask other ones.
All right, so we're going to get ready to wrap up here. I did want to kind of do this this little round table because I know it was fresh, and I know sometimes after you leave, things kind of, and I know I've been taking notes and writing things down. But Chris, let's wrap up, and why don't you give me maybe one bit of advice that you could give people listening that you kind of gained from this weekend?
I think the biggest thing, and it's something that you say all the time, and I'm actually wearing the T-shirt right now,
Yes.
is take action,
Right.
right? And that comes back to something we were talking about 15 minutes ago, where it was, I'm stuck on this step. This is, you have that resistance, you have that thing. Just try it.
Yeah.
And that's, we talked about it a lot this weekend in the context of email. Like, what do I send my list? And I quarter jokingly say literally anything, right? Like anything related to what your thing is, just send an email and then see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing wherever the step you are in your business. Reach out to a supplier and see what happens, right? Start doing product research and see what happens. You have to take that first step in wherever it is that you're stuck. And if you don't do that, you're never going to push to that next section. And one of the objections that we hear kind of around that is, I don't have the time or I don't have the money to do that right now. And that comes back to something that Joel talks about a lot, which is the resources versus the resourcefulness, right? If you think this is the one thing that will move my business forward, when you ask the question that Joel just brought up, this is the thing that I need to do, then figure out how to do it. That's kind of your next action chunk to take advantage of. It's not necessarily a solution of throwing money at the wall. You don't have to do that in 99% of cases. You don't need to throw a ton of money at the wall to build an email list. You don't need, a ton of money or a ton of time. And time, I guess, would be the big one in email. Once you have that email list, you don't need a ton of time to keep that list warm and to engage with that list. It takes a couple minutes a week to do that, and we kind of showed everybody how to do that this weekend. So don't let that like time money paradox slow you down. Figure out how to take that big action step and go from there.
Cool. All right. I think we are going to wrap this up. We are going to do this this group style here, where we're going to do a little finish of this episode. Everybody's looking at me. Everybody's looking at me like, really? Is this going to happen? All right.
Shatter a window in the hotel.
Yeah, we're going to shatter a window with the take action ending. All right, guys, I just want to say, though, we did have a great time here. I think a lot of people, everybody here, really, honestly, everyone I talked to said they got a ton of value. They walked away with things they're going to do, and that to me is everything. And we will be following up with them and making sure, and also I'm sure getting some updates and some feedback. But for you guys listening, if you have not started to build your list, you really, that's like something you need to do. Okay. And from there, you're able to take that list and leverage it and then do the follow up and all that fun stuff that we talk about. So that workshop, it's our free workshop. You guys can head over to theamazingseller.com/build list. And I'll leave that in the show notes. The show notes also can be found where you can find the transcripts, the links, the notes, all that stuff can be found at theamazingseller.com/383. And that's it. That's going to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me our last day together for a while. So everybody will be going back to their homes and getting back to business and life. And so I had a lot of fun. I want to thank you guys, and I want to thank everyone listening. And we're going to wrap this up together today. So guys, remember, I'm here for you. I believe in you, and I'm rooting for you. But you have to. Come on, say it with me. Say it loud. Say it proud. On the count of 3 today, we're going to do this. 1, 2, 3. Take action. Have an awesome, amazing day, guys. And I'll see you right back here on the next episode.